Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Harrisburg City Council Legislative Session, Tuesday, May 23, 2017. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:14 p.m. I apologize for the lateness. We did have an executive session, and that was to discuss legal issues. Moving on, Mr. Petrosky, please do the roll call.
Mr. Allett? Present. Mr. Baltimore?
Here.
Ms. Daniels? Here. Ms. Hodges?
Present.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Majors?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Here. Thank you, Mr. Petrosky. Moving on to an invocation. Councilmember Baltimore, please.
Can we have a moment of silence for particularly the incident that happened in Manchester, England? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baltimore. Moving on to Pledge Allegiance. Mr. Allett.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Allett. Moving on to communications, we have none this evening. But before we go to courtesy of floor, I just want to make a statement. This is not a statement that was told to the other council members. This is my personal statement as the chair of administration and also as the chair, as the president. We had a work session on May 18, 2017, and at that work session, council had requested a discussion on the comprehensive plan. Councilmember Baltimore introduced Ms. Deborah Crew, and she was here to discuss her perspective on comprehensive planning and urban development. During the discussion, Ms. Crew was interrupted several times by individuals in the audience. This will not happen at our work sessions. These work sessions are geared for the council, and we're here to receive information to enable this body to make an affirmative decision. Anyone that council invites to the table will not be challenged or disrespected. If at any time there is a rebuttal, anyone and everyone will maintain professionalism and respect and wait until the chair acknowledges you. As a reminder, council legislative sessions and work sessions are for the elected body to conduct business, and it is not a public session, but it is open to the public for observation and information. If there is a repeat performance of interruptions by the administration or even by the general public, the chair, that's myself, will respectfully request your silence. And if there is a continuation, the chair will request that you leave or be removed by public safety personnel. We will not have interruptions no longer in this chambers. We have to be respectful to everyone. There's people in the audience that wants to hear the information. If you're consistently verbally attacking individuals at a table who's giving information, I was very, very upset at that work session. It was our very first work session. We will not have that again. And I am really, really upset behind the way that session. I will remove you. If you do not leave, I am going to have you removed by the Harrisburg Police Force. And that's everyone. Thank you. Moving on to courtesy of the floor, I'm starting at my right. Anyone, please come to the mic, please. But before I do that, let me introduce my new employee. I'm sorry, Chardan. I have Chardan Houston, who is our new Assistant City Clerk. Welcome, Chardan. Thank you. Thank you. Now I will go to my right. Anyone who would like to speak at the mic, please do so.
Good evening, Council. My name is Stephanie McMurray. I currently live at 1201 North Front Street, but I'm a homeowner at 1404 South 14th Street, and this is regarding my taxes. I was delinquent in my taxes and set up a payment plan with Dauphin County Tax Bureau. And I got a letter from the commissioners, and then I got the ordinance that you folks have generously passed. And I went back to the city treasurer, and she didn't know anything about it. And I went back to Dauphin County Tax Claim and said, well, since I already made 2 payments, you know, what should I do? Because they sent me another letter stating that I still owe $888 by May 31st. And I showed her what I had, and she said, well, she didn't know what to do. And so I said, well, the money that I paid, can it go towards the city taxes that I owe? And she said that they didn't have, I thought they had the money down there. I don't know too much about what goes on, but I thought they had the money down there, and she said the money went to the city. And so I'm asking, instead of giving me a refund, can you guys send that money for my school taxes so my house won't be up for sale in July? It's $519, and I paid $810. So that's a request. I don't know how things go, but I just wanted to let you know that, and that was my request. Thank you.
Ms. McMurray. Mr. Grover, how are we working this tax situation out where we are forgiving tax?
Well, the school district tax is different than our tax.
Oh, I understand that, Mr.
And
Grover.
they have not approved anything yet.
Okay, but I think we're having problems when they're coming here. I had a young lady come in the other day, last week, and she was going to, you know, she wanted to know how she'd get a refund, or they sent her a letter regarding the fact that,
Refunds would not issue until the acquisition occurred.
well, I understand that.
And so that, we're sort of still waiting on the last.
I explained that to her, but my question is to you. They're still receiving letters.
And I can check into that. I don't know who, frankly, I don't even know whether we're issuing the letters or the county is issuing the letters. And this came up with someone else as well, that there's a
Sure.
county letter that came out, and they weren't clear what they had to do. I haven't actually seen the county letter yet, so
Okay.
I don't know what they're being told. But we are pretty in constant contact with the county and school districts councils trying to coordinate this. But ultimately, the refunds happen. I cannot tell you the time frame when the refunds happen.
Okay.
But I did want to, I don't know if this is the address we've talked about. No, okay.
My understanding, Ms. Parker, did you hear anything? My understanding is that anyone who lives in the 14th Street area, that they will not be in violation of tax.
By your ordinance, you've waived the taxes.
No, I'm saying even though they will not be losing their homes either. There was no liens or,
No. Okay, so let me explain the process. So the title search.
Excuse me.
excuse me, can you?
Could you come to the mic,
I was going to,
please?
thank you, Mr. Majors. My understanding, I heard something on the news. I don't know if you know anything about this, but my understanding is that they were told that they would not lose their homes, that they were not in violation of losing their homes before September the 15th or the 16th.
Not
Okay.
that I'm aware of. I don't know why they would be, okay? But what I'm saying is that, so the process has been that the title search company has gone through and done title searches on every single property, and so each home has a different liability. Some people have no lien, some people have some judgments against them, and those are the things that they are going, that will go against whatever it is, whatever the settlement amount will be. And as far as taxes, so that if there would be some tax liability, you've waived some. Okay, you've waived some taxes. If there would be other tax liabilities, those would have to come out of the check, all right? The final settlement, if there were any.
So pre-2014 taxes are still there. That wasn't what was waived by council. So if you owe taxes from 2013 or before, you know, that would not be something that was waived by the council because it was prior to the sinkhole. And there's at least one, if not a couple, that are in that scenario. One was up for tax sale, for judicial sale, is it June?
It's going to be in June
And
because
we're working to get it off the list one way or another. You know, the 3 taxing bodies are in agreement in principle, and then it's really the mechanic of tax law on how we get it off the list. But we've all been in communication with them. But as my understanding, there's only one that's actually up for sale on the next list, which is coming up pretty quickly. And we've been back and forth with a lot of folks along the way. And it's not going to go. It's just a question, which way do we do it? Preferably, we would do it with just removing it from the list. If not, it's going to have to be acquired, which is possible under the law.
It does appear that we have made some contact with some relatives. The issue was that the owners are deceased and the executor is deceased. So we've been trying and trying and trying to find somebody who's related. And I think today we had a couple phone calls, so we may be able to help that house.
Okay. Does that address any of your concerns, Ms. McMurray?
Oh, yes, mine was 2015.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So the school district ones are not.
Okay, we understand that
Right,
school
I'm saying,
district.
I don't know which ones they're contacting about.
Okay.
You know, that's what I'm saying, we'd have to look at the notice.
Can I ask?
Sure, sure.
I think her question had to do with when can she get the refund for the taxes that were waived by city council?
Yes.
That should not be a function which is, I mean, couldn't Treasury do that? I don't see why that has anything to do with anything else, really. She's overpaid
I'm sorry, I
her
missed that
city
detail. So
taxes, and she'd
Yeah.
like to get the refund so she can pay her school taxes.
we will communicate with Treasurer's
That's
office, but
that's a Treasury function. I bet we could put some pressure on the Treasury to speed that up.
because they routinely issue refunds when they're due. I just don't know if they do it quarterly. I don't know what their normal process is, so we can contact Treasury.
Ms. McMurray, do you want to meet with Mr. Grover after the meeting then, please, to give him the necessary information so that he can
Yeah.
look into that process?
Okay, thank you.
Okay? You're welcome. Anyone else to my right, please come to the mic.
Hello, everyone. I am K.M. Wetzel from 1118 Hudson Street, and I see tonight you have Resolution 49 to 2017 in reference to 1100 South 20th Street. And this is, I'm assuming, for final approval for land development. We have been against this project well past, over a year ago. The last time we saw we knew is that they did not get the funding for the project. And we were told by the Planning Commission that if that did occur, that they would have to go through the entire process all over again. Well, we've never been notified of anything going back to planning or anything. I got a letter at the beginning of the year saying they were going for land development and that there was going to be a survey sent out from Skelly and Loy. I never received a survey.
Ms. Wetzel, I interrupt you, pardon me for interrupting you, but Resolution 49 is going to go into committee,
Okay.
and Mr. Baltimore will be announcing the meeting concerning
Okay.
that.
May
It
I
won't
re-
be voted on tonight.
Okay, thank you. May I request that, would we be able to be part of the public committee meeting?
Yes, you may.
Okay.
It is a public meeting.
Okay, and that we'll be able to view our concerns? Okay,
Give your opinion, issues, or concerns, yes.
okay, okay.
But I
All right.
wanted to make sure you understand that we're not voting on Resolution
Okay,
49
and that's
tonight.
what, I saw that, I didn't see
Okay.
that it was
No,
canceled or anything,
no.
or moved out.
It goes
Okay.
into the committee tonight.
All right, thank you very much for
You're
the
quite welcome.
clarification.
I'm sorry, were you finished with everything?
Yes, that was the main thing that we were concerned
Okay.
about. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else to my right, please?
Greetings to all my honorable members of Harrisburg City Council. My name is Khaldoon Rashid, and I live in the 1700 block of North 6th Street. First, I want to start off by saying thank you to the city of Harrisburg for a lot of benefits that are going out this week to veterans in honor of Memorial Day weekend coming up, especially for me. The free Monday nights at the Harrisburg Senators games. And I found out today that Lebanon Transit Authority is offering free bus services back and forth between Harrisburg and Lebanon. So I can go down there and visit relatives I have down there. On a more serious note, since 4 o'clock, I've been on Fox 43 TV. In regards to the blight situation in Harrisburg. I was interviewed after I didn't know about the meeting that was held this morning discussing it. I guess, Mr. Mayor, you know about it. You were there. So I had some comments on it because for over 30 years, I have been trying to get a certain particular property demolished, and that was 1921 Logan Street. So it was videoed today, it was put on the air, I discussed it, and I had also been in here before and I talked about it. I don't know, it wasn't even on the demolition list or anything. So there were pros and cons with what I had to say, but I'm in fully support of the new initiative to try and do something about this problem. And I've been around through the entire Reed administration, the Thompson administration, where I've basically heard the same thing over and over again about the blight situation. But I think that this time, maybe something will be done, because I can see progress, not physically, but in the mentality, and that more people are slowly starting to get involved when they see that, you know, somebody really cares about what's going on next to them. And we have an excellent team up here now, and I think that a lot of things can happen. And as some of you already know, that when the Citizens Inspection Codes program was in effect, I was involved with it for like 17 years until the whole process of that changed. But I'm still active with that.
Okay.
And I still have some things that I'm working on, and I just wanted to let everyone know that I spoke a lot on different issues about it today on Fox 43. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else to my right, please?
Hi there. My name's Sam Moore. I live at 1718 Green Street, and I wasn't able to attend the work session on Thursday for Resolution 44, so I'm not sure where that stands with the FOP bargaining agreement. But a few concerns I just had reading it over was some language. One, unless agreed to by the officer, a municipality shall not make any public comment on the reason for disciplinary action brought up against an officer. That to me read, we'll never know why an officer might be disciplined, because why will an officer want to release that to the public? Another concern was if anonymous complaints are made but no corroborative evidence is obtained, the complaint is unfounded. This seemed really passive. I'm not sure who's looking for evidence, and there's just no process there. And I was just curious about the Safety and Health Committee. So before, I don't know if you're voting on it today, but if you could like explain what that would look like, where members of council are going to be on a committee with members of the police force. That would be great to know about. And then the final question I had was just purging of disciplinary records. It's still listed in here, and I think it'd be good to keep disciplinary records on record so the public knows what an officer might have done or not done. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else to my right, please? Okay. Are you going to address those things? Are you going to address those for?
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Maria Vargas, 1400 South 14th Street. I come here because one of my biggest issues is finding from the county, from the city, and Harrisburg School District is total lack of communication. And I find that at many meetings we attend, as well as we have private meetings for South 14th Street, we don't have answers, we don't know. This has been going on for over 3 years. When we attended the school board last night for the second round with no answers of the argument of wanting to get our taxes, the delinquent tax removed, get them waived, get the refunds, etc. When their response was coming back stating that when they went to the city as well as the county, they got 2 sets of different numbers. So the question is, what numbers do they have? They come up with a $1.65 million they think they got to reimburse us, which is wrong. We all know that. That's funding for the street, for the homes. Same difference as the $210,000 that the city was going to front up front when we were waiting for the rest of the extension to go through, etc. So my thing is, South 14th Street is always put on a back burner and we're not getting answers. And we need more communication between y'all so we can get this solved. So I came today to the city, and I came down here to find out exactly how much taxes was paid from the city, how much taxes was paid for the school district. The school district looks like they did give us a decrease back in 2015. Doesn't look like we got no increase at all from the city because it had been the same amount all along. You guys did go ahead and voted for a refund. So my question is, from when Neil Grover was just speaking, when is that refund coming for the city? Do we have to wait till we get our acquisition, or why are we waiting that long? Why can't we get the refund now? I don't understand. I mean, it's been 6 weeks since you guys approved it. Why are we still waiting?
And we will get the answer for you. I cannot tell you Treasury's process and timetable, but we will get an answer for council. So,
And that's good to hear you say that at the meeting, but I know there's times when we leave this meeting, I still come back with no answers until I show up here again. And that's good, you're willing to do that, but I need you to confirm you're gonna contact me and provide that information, or contact all the residents on South 14th Street with that information. And then my other thing is, if Mr. Pappenfuse and Neil Grover can go to the school board when Public Works was at risk for $105,000 back in September on taxes, and you care so much about South 14th Street is what you state, then why didn't you stand up with South 14th Street to go to the school district so we could get this taken care of? Because you left us by ourselves.
May I
But
respond to
Maria's
that,
gonna
Madam
fight it
President?
to the end till we get what we supposed to get.
Okay. Just a minute.
I
Mr. Grover.
directly offered yesterday to the school board, to their solicitor, to come to that meeting. And I was advised that if they wished any input, they would contact me by phone and even put me on the phone, if that. But I directed to come and speak to the board, to speak to the public, and, you know, I was told that they would call if they needed. That was what, and, you know, I can't direct them what to do. They have their own people. But always have voiced again and again a willingness to go over there and speak with them at any point in time, if that would assist them in getting to the place that I think you know the city wants to be, which is to get these refunds in place, to get the exonerations in place.
Well, I'm telling you from being at the meeting, they're claiming they're pulling teeth to get answers, and they're stressed out. But what I want to say is nobody understands South 14th Street residents been pulling teeth for 4 years. So I'm asking as a resident, can somebody at the city, because the city holds the money, if I'm understanding from the city treasury for the school district money, can somebody here step up to the plate and provide them the correct dollar amount that the residents been paying since 2014 to now? I don't think that's hard to ask, so they can do the voting and get it over
Let me
with.
say this to you. They know what the correct amount is. I worked for the school board. I was the president of the Harrisburg School District, and when they tell you that they don't know how to do something, we exonerated houses in 2000, wait a minute, in 1999 and 2000, we exonerated three homes in the city of Harrisburg. So when they tell you that they don't have the correct numbers, they certainly do. We have been in touch, I don't know about Neil, but I've been in touch with the solicitor to sit down and work out the deal with the South 14th Street residents. He did not know how to go about exonerating your homes and exonerating your taxes. At that time, I gave him advice as to where he needed to look at. So that's not true. I have been in conversation with Mr. Cooper.
And what you just said, Ms. Williams, is what I'm on that there, no, that's their thing. They don't know, do they do 21 homes because of phase one, which was 22 or 23 homes, or do we do all 53? It's all 53. One is no different than the next. But that's where I'm asking in, can somebody show up in person so we know? I mean, I understand you're saying you're doing your part, they're doing their part, but can somebody show up to meeting?
I offered to sit down with him to tell him how we exonerated 3 homes in 1999 and 2000.
So the answer.
So when you're telling me that he's saying that we have not contacted him, that's not true.
So the answer where we lie at with this whole situation with them is, it's just in the air. If they do something, whenever they do it, the residents don't keep fighting it.
No, we will contact him. Neil, myself, and Mr. Grover will make an attempt to sit down with Mr. Cooper again and try to work out something.
But I also
As far
can
as the
assure
taxes
you that there are
concerned.
many, many contacts with the school district and
Right.
lots of people related to the 14th Street situation.
Exactly. We've been on it. We've been on it. He does not know how to exonerate your taxes, because what he is telling me is that it's never been done. I've given him that information. I don't know if he looked it up, but the information is there. We've done it before.
Yeah, because the way they put it is the city went on ahead and did it and the county did it, and they make it look like y'all did it illegal. That was his story yesterday. They don't want to do nothing illegal.
No,
That was the story.
thank you, Mayor, please,
I'd
'cause
just
I
like
know.
to say that I second President Williams in saying that we have, as a city, been in constant contact
Right.
with the school district. I have personally spoken
We
with
have?
multiple members of the
Okay.
school board. I've
Mr.
personally spoken
Majors.
with the solicitor. I've spoken with the
wanna
finance
say
chair. They know our position, which is that they
I'm sorry.
should-
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
They want you to come to the mic so we can make sure it's on recorded. Thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yes.
I just wanted you to be reassured, and I was affirming what President Williams has said, that the city has made it very clear what we believe the school district should do, and we have done that directly to school board members, directly to the superintendent, directly to the solicitor. We are united in what should happen. They have a disagreement, which you are echoing here, but that is their issue. Now, we offered to be at that meeting. We have tried to put pressure on them behind the scenes. Ultimately, it is their responsibility to make this decision on your behalf. I know that I speak for the president when I say that both she and I and council as a body, our administration, we are and we will continue to do everything that we possibly can to convince the school district to do the right thing. But ultimately, it is their decision. It is not our decision. We can't compel them to do that. But it's not from a lack of effort or trying.
But that's the way it was put. That's exactly how it was put.
No, well, no.
So
we've
that's
been-
why I'm
We've been in
asking.
communication. We will reach out. I'll reach out again to Mr. Cooper, myself and Mr. Grover, Mayor. We'll reach out. We even suggested meeting, sitting down, coming here to work out something. They wanted to know how we went about exonerating the taxes. I even invite them here.
That's sad.
We'll reach out again, but Mr.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Johnson has
And
something
I
to say.
think what it comes down to is, honestly, like, what happens to residents, they get the roundabout, you told to go here, told to
Right.
go there. When people are not telling you the actual truth of what's on
Right.
their mind, of the reason why they're not doing something. Like,
Exactly.
they may have a whole completely difference of opinions of why they're not doing it, but because the first question I asked, and Neil, right before we got up here, I asked him the same thing. What was reported, what was said at the meeting was, there was like a lack of information and we can't get the information. The information has been out there.
Right.
The amount the way, how we did it and the amount that we did it, what properties we did it for was clearly, within the ordinance. So all that information is public record and is out there. Now, they may be using that I'm not saying what they're using it for, but it could be, they haven't come to a decision of what they want to do, and they're trying to say, well, we don't have all the information, when that's really not true. So I think, it's about really having them tell you guys exactly what the holdup is, rather than, toss you around and say, it's on this other entity, when that's not true, when, the city has done their part in terms of waiving the taxes and did it through the process. The county went through the same process of waiving their taxes and going through the process. Now it's upon, those members of the board to do that same thing, and they can't pass the buck to any other entity because we're already done with it.
And they certainly have the amount of taxes, because they know how much each individual pays.
Yeah, because it don't make sense why you would say you wouldn't either. And it's not much money for them to refund, so I don't understand what's the difficult
Well,
situation.
I'll make a promise that the mayor, myself, and Mr. Grover will reach out to him again to see if we can work out something.
Okay. Another question I have is, as we're aware, some of the properties are already vacant on 14th Street. I have begun to notice the doors are open on these vacant properties. It's people who have been deceased already. We still got kids on 14th Street. These kids are running in and out everywhere. You don't know who's in them houses or nothing. Can we get the doors boarded up or something temporarily?
We can certainly do that.
Because that's just, a mess out there.
We can certainly do that, yes. If you identify, matter of fact, you don't even have to identify. You made a statement that there's vacant homes with doors off. We'll make sure that we take care of that. I'm sure the mayor heard you tonight. So he'll reach out tomorrow morning to make sure we take care of that.
Okay. The other thing is I see the grant was extended to
Yes.
2022.
Yes.
But just because it's 2022, I don't want to be on South 14th Street to 2022.
We're working as fast as we can. Ms. Parker, myself, and
So
Neil,
my
we're
next
all.
question is to Ms. Parker, when we gonna have a meeting?
Wait a minute, Ms. Parker, they want you.
Let's trade.
The residents of Harrisburg are complaining that they don't hear the responses from the administration and council, or even from the audience, so we want you to please come to the mic, please. Thank you.
Okay, we had originally said to the group that everybody would be meeting individually, that there wasn't a reason to have another group meeting because everybody has a different situation. However, having said that, we are now talking that maybe it would be good to have another one in the next couple of weeks for everybody. But you should have received the first letter that is a notice of intent. You will be receiving your award letters now that the extension letter has been received with, let's see, today's next week sometime. And so that it will indicate, what your settlement could be minus any outstanding debts. So if you still feel that, we could still have another meeting, we thought that might still be good to have another one. But everybody's going to have an individual session with somebody. Okay.
So did you receive your letter?
I received certified mail this weekend, but it wasn't for me, because it talks about a tenant. I'm not a tenant.
No. Every property owner, whether they had a tenant or not, received the same letter.
Well, when I called, the number that's on there was to the relocation people in Philadelphia. And he basically told me it had to do with if you were a tenant. Being that I'm not a tenant and don't have no tenant on my property, he had no reason to speak with me. That was the end of the conversation.
Correct, but by law, every property owner must receive a GIN, or the intent notice. That's by law, whether you have, because we don't know, we know you don't have a tenant, but we don't know, some of the property owners might have a tenant, but they are now on.
Everybody ought to know who I am by now.
Yes, I know.
I'm not no tenant, and I
But
don't have
that's
no
by
tenant
law.
at 1400.
Every property owner had to receive one, so.
So did we address all your questions, please?
Yes.
Okay.
I just think that was a waste of money for people who are homeowners and never had tenants on the property. You send a certified mail, you got people wasting their time on salaries to do that, et cetera, but if that's what it is, that's what it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
We thank you. Anyone else to my right, please? Okay. Anyone in the middle, please?
Good evening, I'm Daniel D. Graham, 217 North 2nd Street here in Harrisburg. Again, we need more railroad passenger trains running on all the rail lines coming into Harrisburg, both suburban, regional passenger trains and long-distance passenger trains serving Harrisburg. This here is also a good jobs program, should provide many good, meaningful, good-paying jobs for people. And we need factories here in Harrisburg also. The mayor talks about jobs, other people talk about jobs. We need factories here in Harrisburg, in the city and in the surrounding towns. We need factories where they build passenger rail cars and locomotives, and we need factories where they make products, a wide variety of other products, large products and small products, electrical products, toys, clothing, and also making clocks and electric shavers made here by good American workers here in the cities and towns here in the USA. And again, we need the traditional manufacturing assembly line production jobs here in here in Harrisburg and in other cities and towns here in Pennsylvania and all over the USA. Manufacturing, assembly line jobs, and packing jobs for good American workers here in the USA. And also again, I hope President Trump and our Congress repeal all of those free trade agreements and bring back all of the manufacturing jobs that we lost to other countries. Bring back all of the manufacturing production jobs that we had years ago. And this also would provide many good-paying, meaningful, good-paying jobs for good American workers here in the USA. And let's get the expanded passenger railroad train service going as soon as possible on the present rail lines, which we have many rail lines that are already in place that we can use for more passenger trains. So again, again, let us get this expanded passenger railroad train service operating as soon as possible, and let us bring factories back here to Harrisburg and the surrounding towns and open up factory production jobs as soon as possible. One other issue regarding our election and our political offices. I know it has been suggested before, but I agree. I suggest this again. Provide term limits for the mayor of this city. 2 4-year terms, and that's all, no more. Same as with the mayor of Philadelphia and the mayor of New York City. 2 4-year terms, and that's it. Thank you much. God bless.
Hi, my name is Vonda Evans, former resident of South 14th Street, 1414 South 14th Street. I don't know what's going on about the funding that we were supposed to be granted. It's not fair that we are like getting prolonged about this situation. We relocated, we had people going in them houses, breaking into them houses that we own. I'm no longer there. My mother is not living there, and my sister's not living there. Our houses are getting broken into. Y'all want us to pay the taxes on the houses. It's not fair that we're not there, and what are we supposed to do? What's going on? Why ain't we getting the funds that y'all said y'all granted us for? The school district ain't trying to sign out for nothing. Like, what are we supposed to do?
Ms. Evans, you probably missed the statements that were made by Ms. Parker, so if you wait a couple of minutes, I'm sure she would need that you would give an update on where we are with the process of what we're
Okay, I mean, like, y'all said that the funds is available. It's not right that we keep waiting and waiting and waiting. My mom is 75 years old on a fixed income, living further away. This problem been going on for a long time, and it's not fair.
I sympathize, I sympathize with you, I understand that. But we have to work with the process, we not only dealing with one entity, but we're dealing with the federal government, the state government, and the city.
But y'all said that y'all had, the mayor said that the money was there. We were supposed to have got the money. I'm gonna listen to what Ms. Parker have to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna listen to what Ms. Parker have to say about it. But if the fund is there, why nobody releasing anything.
Well, she'll give you an update on where we're at and when you can, the money would be available,
Okay.
okay? And I certainly sympathize with you. I've been trying to move this forward, working with Ms. Parker.
It's very stressful.
It is.
It's very, very stressful. For so long, we've been going through this. Since when my dad's truck went down. That should have been fixed a long time ago when that happened. And now it's going on 4 years now.
I know.
It's not fair. The money was available to the people in Primara. They got their funds. But we didn't get ours. Why? Because we out the south side?
No, they were a while they waited a while.
They waited 11 years.
They waited,
Okay, well,
yes.
what about the people across the river at that lake? They closed that lake down, and they repairing millions of dollars. For this lake, we lost our homes. This is the home that I grew up in.
I understand.
It's just not fair. It's not our fault. And it's not your fault as well, but something have to give. This is the house I grew up in. This is the house that my kids, my grandkids, is what's supposed to be growing up in. And we lost it.
Well, I apologize for the inconvenience that you are inquiring, but we have tried to rush the process, but we're just, I guess we're not just working with the city, we're working with the state, and we're working with the federal government. And I've been pushing Ms. Parker, I've been on her, really, about what are we doing? We got to help these people.
Push a little harder.
Okay, what, you want me to push her out the door? Just bear with us, we are trying.
I mean, we've been bearing with y'all.
I know, but you don't, it's just not the city. Didn't you just not say it was not our fault?
Yeah, but
Okay, it's a
you
natural,
can't- you
excuse
can't
me,
bear with us.
can I speak now? It's a natural disaster. We are trying to work as quickly as we can. I have been working with Ms. Parker and the secretary over at the Commonwealth. We are trying to expedite your money. And I know what you're feeling. I've asked the mayor to even utilize some of the money out of the host fee. So we are working as fast as we can. Please meet with her and find out where the process is and where, when the monies will be available. Anyone else in the middle, please? Would you like to say anything, Ms. Parker, to her? Okay. Okay. You, Mayor? You don't?
Yeah, I'll just note one thing which
Okay.
is important.
Okay.
It's positive, which is we just got our, in addition to the extension, it seems we just got our grant agreement yesterday. So I know that it is frustrating that it continues to take that long. We had promises of funding, but we finally got an actual written agreement for that funding yesterday. So we're moving, and I think you're going to see, start to see things happen and unfold very quickly as we move forward. But, and I think we're all frustrated that it's taken this long, but we are almost there. We're almost there.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Okay, moving on. Anyone else in the middle? To my left? Thank you. Moving on to approval of minutes. Approve of the legislative session minutes of May 9, 2017. Council members, any omissions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none, minutes are approved as such. Moving on to reports of committees. The reports of committees is our city council work session. And at that session, we had 4 chairs of committees. Report from Chair Williams on the work session of May 18, 2017. City Council had a work session on May 18, 2017 at 5:30 p.m. 4 committees had legislation in their committee: the Administration Committee, Building and Housing, Parks and Recreation, Enrichment, and Public Safety. The Administration Committee first business item on the agenda was Resolution 37 of 2017. It was a resolution ratifying a prescription drug benefit facilitation services agreement with Benacard Services Incorporated. This agreement with Benacard provides drug prescription services to city employees with a guaranteed cost savings in the first year of $500,000. In the year 2016, at 6 months, prescription costs were $807,459. This year, at a 6-month period, The amount is $550,000. The city of Harrisburg will receive its first rebate check in July from Benacar, as well as an additional savings in the next 6 months. Benacar has negotiated for a retail provider, and that retail provider was Rite Aid. To date, there has been 4,561 prescriptions processed by Rite Aid, and 574 were mail ordered. The contract for Benacar is a 3-year locked-in contract. Benacar will maintain a toll-free telephone number for members and pharmacies, and that will be accessible 24 hours, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. Moving on to the next resolution is Resolution 41, 2017, and that is a resolution ratifying the commercial energy sales agreement with Champion Energy Services for the generation of electricity for certain properties and accounts for the city of Harrisburg. The city of Harrisburg is approaching an expiration of an existing agreement for electricity. Bids were solicited to lock in a price for electric, and the city received 3 bids. Champion Energy, who is licensed by the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission, was the lowest bidder to offer and supply electric services. The city will receive a 15% price cut and save $37,400 a year with the length of the agreement, which is for a 36-month term. Moving on to the last resolution in the Administration Committee is Resolution 43 of 2017, and that resolution approving a professional service agreement with SMM Systems Maintenance Services Incorporated for maintenance support of the city's SAN server. This resolution addresses a continuation of services for the SAN server, which requires routine maintenance support. SMS Systems will provide scheduled preventive maintenance, also labor and replacement of parts as deemed necessary for the equipment to operate properly. Systems maintenance services will furnish a certificate of assurance of up to $2 million to the city. The total amount of the contract is for $15,660. Moving on to report from Chair Hodges on the work session of May 18, 2017. And before Ms. Hodges, I am putting all 3 of those resolutions up for a vote. Ms. Hodges?
Thank you, Madam President. Underneath the Parks and Recreation, there were 3 resolutions. The first one was Resolution 33, 2017, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into professional services contract with MKSD LLC, doing business as MKSD Architects, to provide a feasibility study of the city's pools. The cost will not exceed $58,000 for this study. During that time, there were other discussions brought up about the park's current pool conditions and also the summer park's actual programs. There was also discussion brought up today by Madam President about there being a previous study done underneath the old administration, the previous administration, and the current administration has agreed to look and research that, and it will be brought up during our June 6th meeting. The next resolution is Resolution 35, 2017, a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Department of Community and Economic Development for the purpose of funding the development of a master site plan for City Island to help guide future development on the island. The amount of this that we are applying for is $500,000. And lastly, Resolution 36, 2017, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to enter into a grant agreement with the Pennsylvania Urban and Community Forestry Council for the purpose of funding a tree planting project under the Tree Revitalization Program. There will be 25 trees replaced throughout 4th and Emerald Playground, 7th and Ratner Playground, and 19th and Forster Playground in Riverfront Park. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chair Hodges. Now, Resolution 33, are you making an amendment? Are we voting on that? And then you will.
I would like to make it contingent upon that the administration doesn't find any previous studies that can be used to go forth with the planning of the pools.
So would you make that as an amendment, please?
Okay.
When we vote on that, please.
How would I make?
When we're ready to vote on that, then you would add.
I would make it, but I'm bringing it forth up as an amendment. To vote. To vote.
With a condition.
Right.
That's what I said, motion to amend that. She wants it
It's not changing.
contingent upon,
It's not changing the document.
no, not
It's
changing the
conditional
document,
approval.
but contingent upon the administration not finding additional
Right.
study.
We would agree not to execute the contract until after we've performed an exhaustive search to see if we could find the existing set.
Okay.
Okay?
So now at the, okay, I'm
So you
making,
can make it a condition.
okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Moving on to report from Ms. Daniels on the work session of May 18, 2017.
Thank you. During the work session, Building and Housing had two bills, or two items. One was Bill 5-2017, which is basically a bill updating the Building and Housing Code Board of Appeals. This, I had recommended it for a vote, but they did not follow up with Law Bureau as I indicated I would. So we'll postpone that, as there are possibly two amendments to this that we'll be working on. The second bill was Bill 72-2016, which is a resolution to review the application for a certificate of appropriateness filed by Ms. Maritza Robert for the replacement of wooden swing out garage doors with a metal rollover garage door with decorative elements at the property located at 587 South Front Street. Both the administration and the applicant were present for the hearing. Basically, Ms. Robert, Ms. Robert,
Can you hear? Is she, okay.
Ms. Robert relied detrimentally, to her detriment, on the advice on the city's planning office, and because of that, in terms of her purchase for a replacement garage door, the HARB decided that rule that the garage door that she had purchased and installed was not a permissible one. So she appealed to City Council, and again, this was my fault. I did not have a hearing on this sooner. So by the time we had the hearing, which was on May 18th, any legal recourse she may have had with her vendor would have lapsed. So because of that, was recommending that we approve her certificate of appropriateness, as she did rely on city employee advice to make the purchase that she did. When it comes up for a vote, I will be amending the language to the motion, but I will ask my fellow council members to support it.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. Moving on to report from Chair Johnson on the work session of May 18, 2017.
There was one item in the Public Safety Committee, and that was Resolution 43 of 2017, which is a resolution Resolution 44, which is of 2017, a resolution of the Council of the City of Harrisburg ratifying the 2017 to 2020 collective bargaining agreement between the City of Harrisburg and Fraternal Order of Police, Capital City Lodge Number 12. What I'm going to do now is highlight some of the changes for the public for this contract. So if you have a copy of the contract, the first change that was discussed by the administration and agreed upon by the union is in Article 6 in regards to the onboarding. So basically, officers will have to reimburse $5,000 as liquidated damages for reimbursement for training fees prior to leaving before serving 5 years. So basically, if they leave for a non-police related position prior to reaching their 5-year anniversary date with the Harrisburg Police Bureau, the officer will reimburse the city $1,000 per year for each year of service, with the city up to a maximum of $5,000. The next significant change can be found in Article 8, which has to do with compensations for economic fringe benefits. The first one is seen as Section A. For all members in the union, when the contract is signed, a signing bonus of $1,500 per year for the first 3 years payable as follows. In 2017, on or before 60 days after ratification, January 31st of 2018 and January 31st of 2019. And also, the following salary increases on base wages shall be implemented during the term January 1st, 2017 through January 31st of 2020. which is as follows. So January 1st, 2017, there will be a 0.5% increase. On July 1st of 2017, that would be a 0.5% increase, which is a total of 1% for 2017. For January 1st of 2018, 0.5%. For January 1st of 2018, 0.5%, which is a total of 1% for 2018. And for 2019, January 1st, there will be a 1% raise. And for 2020, on January 1st, there will be another 1% raise. Following that, we are also, it was agreed upon to remove a step for beginning officers. So instead of a police officer number 4, where they will be able to reach their 100% salary, the top will be police officer number 3, which will allow our police officers to reach their 100% salary in a quicker fashion. The next change can be found in Section 4 in regards to holidays and personal days. Under this section, to be more in line with what our firefighters have in their contract, officers are entitled to get their birthday off, which they can either decide to take up on their birthday or sometime throughout the year. The next significant change can be found in Section 9, which has to do with medical and hospital insurance. In the past, officers would have to do a co-insurance. So through a labor negotiation, they found that it was more beneficial to have a percent increase within their coverage amount rather than holding that co-insurance. So essentially, it was a benefit for the officer, and it was just a slight increase as far as what the city paid. The next change can be found in Section 9 in regards to sickness and injury, and this is in Section G. Officers must maintain a minimum of 26 days in order to exercise the buyback provisions. I guess in the past, with the buyback, officers were able to exhaust their buyback and not have anything left in their bank account as far as sick days. So if an officer was to get sick and not have any days, it could be a severe impact. So instead, in order to participate in the buyback program, they must have a minimum of 26 days in order to receive that provision. The next change can be found on Section 25 in regards to pension vesting rights, and this can be found in Section J, and this reads, any police officer who retires after January 1st of 2020 shall receive a base wage increase to rank of inspector on their final day of employment. The rate of inspector shall be 10% above the rate of employment of the member immediately prior to the last day of employment. This promotion shall not have any affect any payout for accumulation of unused leave or any other enhancement. This provision shall sunset effective December 31st, 2020. So those were the agreed upon changes based upon the city negotiation team as well as the labor union. To address a couple questions that were brought up during public comment, in regards to the Safety and Health Committee, which can be found for the public who may be following along. That's in Section 13 under Safety and Health. That committee is formed through the city administration and the FOP. Council doesn't have any participation in that. And I guess that's in regards to any labor management issues in regards to manpower levels or any other safety or health issues that may occur during the contract. So I guess they have a board that consists of police members as well as members from our police department, and probably Carlicia as well. So in regards to how the discussion went, it kind of opened up with the discussion on the fact that the way this process is set up is where the city forms their negotiation team and they meet with the FOP leadership in regards to different things that are being negotiated. Throughout this process, historically, council is presented with the completed process of the contract, and it's at that time where we can kind of see, what was approved. Kind of what that does for council is it puts us in a position where, unlike any other ordinance in regards to things being presented to us and us being able to make amendment, we can't make amendments to the contract in regards, because it's a collective bargaining agreement, and pass it, because then union members would not have the ability to vote on it. The only thing council has the ability to do is vote yes or no on the contract. So one of the discussion points that were brought up is for all of our civil service agreements and contracts with our unions, regardless of ASME, FOP, and firefighters, that there be a greater working relationship where council can have, whether it may be executive sessions with negotiation team, to actually share those concerns that are being expressed by the community in regards to the different contracts before, the negotiation is complete and we're presented with a finished product. Other things that was discussed during the discussion of Bill 44 was in regards to, I know one of the questions was regard to the expungement of police records, and the representative from the labor team said there could be tighter language on how he have seen it in the past, but this goes back to the first thing I just said before there. We're not, because that wasn't a point that was negotiated during that time, and because we're not in a position to make an amendment and then pass it, it's something that has to be, strictly negotiated in between bargaining agreements. So, like I said, council only has the ability to either vote yes or no on these contracts. And the last thing we did touch upon was residency, because we know that's a topic that's brought up throughout the community. And I guess as of today, if people saw the news, we talked about the possibility of there being a pending case, which was passed today by the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, which basically nixed the ability of the city of Pittsburgh to mandate a residency requirement. So that's probably going to have an effect throughout the state. I know the mayor of Pittsburgh said he is evaluating and seeing if they're going to appeal beyond that level, which will probably end up going to federal courts. But basically, it overruled the amendment to their home rule charter, saying that residency is part of negotiation, rather than it being mandated through any type of referendum or any type of amendments to your home rule charter. So that basically kind of sets precedent for any type of movements for Harrisburg to even make it a step towards residency. But we also talked about ways to go into future conversation, discussion on how we recruit city residents. One thing that was brought up was a program in the city of Lancaster in regards to a cadet program where they are looking to offer internships for students who are in between the ages of 18 and 20 who are part-time at HAC, and basically having them have a floating internship within the police department. So there's a lot of different mechanisms that we talked about. We talked about SROs, and we talked about community service officers. So we are looking at ways to possibly, inspire recruitment within the city, so we can have more people who are on the police department who are reflective of this area. So we will be voting on Resolution 44 tonight, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Moving on to ordinance for first reading, Bill 6 of 2017.
Bill 6 of 2017 was moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Mr. Johnson. It's an ordinance for the purpose of reauthorizing within the city of Harrisburg an area designated as Neighborhood Improvement District, designated a nonprofit corporation to administer the same, accepting a business plan for the district and authorizing assessments for the operation thereof, and meeting all of other requirements under the Neighborhood Improvement District Act for the continuation of the same and repealing all inconsistencies, ordinances, or parts of ordinances.
That will be placed in Administration Committee. Moving on to ordinance for amendment. We have none this evening. We move on to ordinance for final passage, Bill 5, 2017.
No, that's
Yes,
not.
sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're removing Bill 5 per Ms. Daniels' request. Moving on to resolutions.
Resolution 72 of 2016 was moved by Ms. Daniels, second by Ms. Hodges. It's a resolution to review the application for a certificate of appropriateness filed by Ms. Maritza Robert for the replacement of wooden swing-out garage doors with all-metal rollover garage door with decorative elements at the property located at 587 South Front Street.
Ms. Daniels.
Yes, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the appeal of Maritza Robert relating to certain exterior work performed at 587 South Front Street in the Historic Overlay District, authorizing the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness for the improvements and otherwise waiving on a non-precedental basis the time restrictions for consideration of such appeals.
Have a second?
Second.
Please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
You want to call the vote for
Resolution 72 as amended, please.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes,
Resolution 72 as amended passes.
thank you. Moving on to Resolution 33, 2017.
Resolution 33 of 2017 was moved by Ms. Hodges, second by Ms. Daniels. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services contract with MKSD LLC, doing business as MKSD Architects, to provide a feasibility study of the city's pools.
Ms. Hodges.
I would like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 33, 2017, contingent upon that the administration doesn't find the previous study, and if the previous study is found, if it's not, I guess, up to what the full extent of the study that we're going to conduct now could be used to actually implement further with the pools.
Have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Please call the vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms.
Yeah,
Daniels.
do you want to give a time frame so that way they know when they can start moving ahead? So like,
Well, he
say
said he's
by
going to do now to June 6th.
Okay,
Okay.
so.
You mean
put that
add
in
that
there.
to my-
Yeah, yeah.
So you add June 6 into the
Yes.
motion? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, may I have a second? Again?
Second.
Thank you. Now, any additional questions or comments? Please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Call the vote on Resolution 33 is amended.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Resolution 33 as amended passes.
Thank you. Moving on to Resolution 35.
Resolution 35 of 2017 was moved by Ms. Williams, second by Mr. Johnson. It's a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Department of Community Economic Development for the purpose of funding the development of master site plan for City Island to help guide future development on the island.
Any questions or comments? Please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Resolution 35 passes.
Thank you. Moving on to Resolution 36.
Resolution 36 of 2017 was moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Mr. Johnson. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to enter into a grant agreement with the Pennsylvania Urban and Community Forestry Council for the purpose of funding a tree planting project under the Tree Vitalize program.
Any questions or comments on Resolution 36? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Resolution 36 passes.
Thank you. Moving on to Resolution 37.
Resolution 37 of 2017 was moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Mr. Johnson. It's a resolution ratifying a prescription drug benefit facilitation services agreement with Benacard Services Incorporated.
Any questions or comments, Councilmember Zerman? Yep. I'm sorry, no. No, I'm sorry. Any questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes,
Resolution 37 passes.
thank you. Moving on to Resolution 41.
Resolution 41 of 2017 was moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Ms. Hodges. It's a resolution ratifying the commercial energy sales agreement with Champion Energy Services for the generation of electricity for certain properties and accounts for the city of Harrisburg.
Any questions on Resolution 41? Comments? Please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Resolution 41 passes.
Moving on to Resolution 43.
Resolution 43 of 2017 was moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Mr. Johnson. It's a resolution approving a professional services agreement with SMS System Maintenance Service Incorporated for the maintenance support of the city's sand server.
Any questions or comments, council members? Please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes,
Resolution 43 passes.
thank you. Moving on to Resolution 44.
Resolution 44 of 2017 was moved by Mr. Johnson, seconded by Ms. Williams. It's a resolution of the Council of the City of Harrisburg ratifying the 2017 to 2020 collective bargaining agreement between the City of Harrisburg and the Fraternal Order of Police, Capital City Lodge Number 12.
Any questions or comments on Resolution 44? Mr. Johnson.
So for Resolution 44, one thing I didn't include within my report was, this contract is negotiated under Act 47. So under Act 47, there are a lot of constraints that the city must abide by as far as our the amount of money that is used, the amount of positions, salary controls and positions we're able to hire. And one thing I do want to do, I do want to commend the labor negotiation teams. There were a lot of wins in there for the city, as well as a lot of wins that kind of restored some, but not all, of provisions that were given to officers, which suffered a lot of their concessions during their last contract negotiation when we first went into Act 47. I just want to tell everyone that I will be voting no on this resolution. And the reason why I will be voting no on this resolution has more to do, it could just be, it has more to do with just the process in itself. I very understand collective bargaining, and I understand the sanctities of it. One thing I want to do is, with this no vote, is hopefully in the future, in regards to all of our union contracts, make sure that council is a partner, whether that's through our executive sessions, being able to share different thoughts or ideas. But I think it puts us in a position where we're unable to make any suggestions or offer any changes, or a lot of these changes that we may have, still has to be negotiated, and that's every union's right. But if we get it at the final stage of it, we don't know where discussions was at during the negotiation meetings. So while I do commend the administration, I'm just voting no to hopefully just put it on record that we need more of a path forward in dealing with all of our union contracts in regards to the process of including council within these negotiations. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Majors.
Excuse me, and I apologize for my not being able to attend the work session on the 18th. But in Article 12, I guess on page 17, it's Article 12 is the grievance procedure. You read through the sections. There's section 1, 2, 3, 5. There's no 4. Is that an omission, or is that just a mistake in numbering?
Well, I think what you're looking at is at the end of sentence 1 under section 3. It's just a spacing error. Section 4 starts right there. You'll see
Okay,
it.
all right, okay.
So before it went to print, you would fix the space.
I see it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It should be 4.
Okay, and well then also I will, I'll leave it at that. That was one more question I had, and I'll save any, I won't have any comments at this time.
Any other questions or comments? Please call the vote.
Calling the vote for Resolution 44, Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Majors?
No.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Resolution 44 passes.
Moving on to Resolution 45.
Resolution 45, 2017 was moved by Mr. Allett and seconded by Ms. Daniels. It's a resolution endorsing the adoption and use of a debt management policy for the city of Harrisburg.
That will be placed in Budget and Finance Committee. Moving on to Resolution 46.
Resolution 46, 2017 was moved by Mr. Major, seconded by Ms. Williams. It's a resolution approving a professional services contract with the Urban Engineers Incorporated to provide construction management and inspection services for 3rd Street multimodal project.
That will be placed in Public Works Committee. Moving on to Resolution 47.
Resolution 47 of 2017 was moved by Mr. Allett, seconded by Ms. Daniels. It's a resolution approving a third proposed 2017 budget reallocation in order to provide for additional program and equipment allocations.
Be placed in Budget and Finance Committee. Moving on to Resolution 48.
Resolution 48 of 2017 was moved by Mr. Allett, seconded by Ms. Daniels. It's a resolution endorsing the adoption and use of a fund balance policy for the city of Harrisburg.
And that will be placed in Budget and Finance, I'm sorry. Moving on to Resolution 49.
Resolution 49 of 2017 was moved by Mr. Baltimore, seconded by Ms. Daniels. It's a resolution approving the preliminary final land development plan submitted by Jody Smiley to construct a 3-story multifamily dwelling at 1100 South 20th Street, Harrisburg, PA, to provide affordable rental housing to seniors.
And that will be placed in Community Economic Development Committee. Moving on to old business council members. Oh, I'm sorry, wait, make a motion to bring Resolution 50 as an amendment. May I have a second?
Second.
Questions and comments on the motion?
It's bringing them.
I know, but I want to make sure. You don't have any questions on it?
You simply have to move it from the floor, make a motion to move it from the floor first,
Okay.
and then a motion then for discussion.
Okay. I have a second. Call the vote, please. I
Do
moved
you want me
it.
to read it to record?
Yeah. mhm.
Resolution 50 of 2017 was moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Mr. Johnson. It's a resolution approving a clarifying addendum to the city's municipal pension plan contract administered by the Pennsylvania Municipal Retirement System.
Okay. Please call the vote.
And this is just a vote on putting it on the agenda.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right?
Yes.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes. Okay. Now, Mr. Petrosky, any questions or comments on this addendum to Resolution 50?
Madam President, there may be appropriate to have a motion to suspend the rules at this point on this particular resolution because it was not otherwise discussed publicly.
Yes, so moved.
You have a motion? You have,
Second.
thank you.
Madam President, this is a resolution that is fairly straightforward. We were contacted by counsel for PMRS, which is the pension system for the state that oversees our AFSCME pension. They had a requested change after they voted and approved the same PMRS contract that this council approved. They voted on the 18th. When their staff started working on it, they decided that one sentence they thought might have an ambiguity about future recipients of pensions, and they sent over a request today to have an amendment approved to the contract and added as an addendum to the contract both by the city and PMRS's board. This does not affect anyone who's currently scheduled to retire or anyone scheduled to have an early out retirement under the AFSCME contract that was approved, which provides early outs under a rule of 80 for 2017 and 18 for members that qualify and elect to do so. But it would affect, it would clarify that in the future, there is a multiplier that would not be added if you're not eligible and retiring in that period. So it's just, it's a clarification of language, and we are recommending after consulting with HR, the Risk Manager's Office, and the Law Bureau, that council adopt that resolution, and that they are, as it came directly from PRMRS, and it frankly makes them more comfortable handling the retirement applications that come in.
Okay, question to you, because I thought we already did that. Anyone who retired from January 1st, 2017 were eligible for it till December 2017. Anyone after that did not receive the multiplier, right?
That is true, but they just simply felt there was an ambiguity in the way the language was written. And so they've asked to have, basically 4 lines added to the section to clarify the language.
Okay.
And from our view, it was clear, but they feel this makes it clearer, so.
Okay. So the public knows that anyone retires after December 31st, 2017 will not receive the multiplier.
2018.
I thought it was 17. I thought it was only a year.
Those are 2 years of the AFSCME contract.
Okay, well, 2018. Okay, any other questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, we have a vote to go back into session.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
We're back in session. No questions or comments, council members, to the addendum? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Before we call the vote, I just noted something that we can just make a quick amendment to change. And the 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth whereas, it just says Bill 3 of 2107. If we can just make the record show that it's Bill 3 of 2017, and then I can just, if someone makes the amendment, I can make the change before I send it.
Repeat that?
It's in the fourth.
It's in the fourth.
Yeah.
Fourth whereas, it says
Yeah.
Bill 3 of 2107.
Okay,
2107.
can I, yeah.
2107.
So if someone just makes the amendment to make that correction before.
I'll make a motion, an amendment to amend the language for Bill 3, changing it from 2107 to 2017.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Call the vote for the amendment.
All right, calling the vote for the amendment. Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries. Calling the vote for Resolution 50 as amended.
Yes.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Resolution 50 as amended passes.
Thank you. Moving on to old business. Council members, any old business? Mr. Johnson, did you have something to say?
Maybe it's new business.
Oh, okay. No old business? All right, fine. Mr.
New business.
Oh, new business, okay. All right.
Oh, hold on, old
Okay,
business.
Mr. Majors.
Just for the public, the comprehensive plan status information that went out, the last I just read it, there was supposed to be a meeting on the 25th. Is that meeting still scheduled?
You mean, you're talking about the subcommittee?
Yes.
That has not been confirmed.
Okay. So why did we put a schedule together with all these meetings, and then none of them had been confirmed?
Because the planning commission asked for a special subcommittee to be formed, and then they said they would try to meet with us on certain days, and so far, we've only had a response from one subcommittee member. So we're trying to get them to decide on a date.
Okay. So is this going to prolong it past the initial
Well, we're
schedule?
we are working on the schedule that we proposed, but but now the planning commission is saying that they would like to maybe take a little more time. So when we meet with that subcommittee, then we can, see what they would like to do.
Okay.
Any other questions?
That's at their request, but we're doing our thing.
Okay. Any other old business, council members? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Ms. Hodges, any?
Sure. The only thing I want to announce is that on June 6th, for the workshop, Kevin or Ms. Parker will be down to talk about the concerns for the Parks and Rec summer program, pools, and any other concerns that you guys bring up during that time. And also for everyone to have a safe Memorial Day weekend, and don't forget to visit Art Fest.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Allett?
I don't have any.
Okay. Mr. Johnson?
With Madam President's permission, I guess there was a hearing today, I guess, with Senator DeSanto in regards to blight, which if you guys could give like a brief synopsis of what was discussed there. I'm kind of interested in what they're saying on the state level, with Madam President's permission.
So
this was a Senate Urban Affairs Subcommittee meeting. We were invited to attend on behalf of the city. There were other attendees present, including a variety of community organizations, CREDIC, PHFA, the Harrisburg Housing Authority was there, Tri-County Housing was there, quite a large crowd of people. But again, it was an invitation-only Senate subcommittee testimony. The city was asked to present. I presented along with Jackie Parker and Dave Patton, and we focused on two different things. One, some requested legislative changes that we'd like to see enacted. One had to do with the posting of a bond for people who are interested in purchasing condemned properties. This is a suggestion that would give the city some ability to draw on that bond if, in fact, somebody buys a property and does nothing with it. That generated some good discussion, and I think they're taking that under advisement. Another change had to do with changing the way the fire escrow works, which is that currently when there's a fire and there's an insurance settlement, the city doesn't necessarily get a very large portion of that money. We'd like to get a larger portion of that money to go towards the remediation and cleanup of those fire homes. That would require legislative action. So those were two very specific suggestions, both made by Dave Patton. A third had to do with whether or not corporations should have to list their principals. And that might be a harder lift to get the Senate to do things. But that was half of the conversation. And then Ms. Parker focused on various funding possibilities for how we could get additional resources to fight blight. It was revealed, suggested that the county has adopted a sort of $15 fee as part of the transfer tax that's going into a pool of money. The county stated publicly that they're open for applications for that, so the city will certainly be trying to do that. They are working as well with Habitat for Humanity on some other sites outside of the city, but currently there's a pool of money. The question is, how can we prioritize and potentially tap some of that for use within the city? Ms. Parker Arslow discussed, she's here, she can tell you. It was a good presentation, but talked about some of the older programs that used to be funded by the Commonwealth, which are no longer funded, and we argued to return that funding. Now, there were other presentations too, but that was what the city presented on. And I thought it was a good presentation. I believe it was televised, so maybe it's on the PCN or on the television, but they are going to be proposing a series of bills in the Senate that all of which could benefit us. And as soon as we know what they're actually proposing, we can come back and brief you on it, and maybe we will have a strategy to lobby together to get them done. But it was a Republican committee hearing, and here we were Democrats testifying, so it seemed like a good exercise in bipartisanship.
I have written comments, and I'll be glad to pass them on to you because I had presented that to the committee. I think, like the mayor said, one of the things, so we sort of focused on proactive kinds of activities. So we have things like we use our land bank. We have the redevelopment authority that goes in and tries to strategize for vacant properties and tries to work with pool of responsible developers and investors who might be able to rehabilitate a lot of these homes. And where are they located? So those are proactive things. We have the LERTA. We're going to be maybe resurrecting our volunteer code inspectors. We talked about that a long time ago, but there are certain things that are proactive. Then we talked about reactive kinds of legislations, like the mayor said, that Dave focused on, and then my focus was, how can they also help through funding? And as the mayor said, this Act 152 that the county passed was passed by the legislature in January, and then the county enacted it for Dauphin County. My request to the legislature was there isn't any percentage in there of how that money is to be distributed. All it says is that the county is able to institute this $15 transfer fee, comes from anywhere, and put it into a demolition pot. And then the county then said, oh, well, you can come in and apply like everybody else. And I said to the legislature, that's the problem, that it's not focused, it's not targeted on the areas that really need the demolition money, which is the city of Harrisburg. So I'm hoping that they'll take that into consideration to amend it. And there are a couple other existing programs that don't have defined activities as demolition that they could take and set aside for demolition. I think Councilman Baltimore, you remember the Neighborhood Assistance Program, that's still in existence, and that goes for community projects, but there could be a separate set-aside that says, yes, if you invest in this, this would be for demolition money for the community. So there are some things that they could take a look at, and that wouldn't cost them any more money. They're just ways that they can carve out money for demolition.
And there was one other interesting thing that was widely discussed this morning, which is that apparently some communities, municipalities, PHFA is considering going in this direction, are no longer boarding up blighted properties. They are instead using essentially a strong form of plexiglass, as opposed to wood, and it has been transformative. I think we had examples from Cleveland in the presentation today. Costs a little bit more upfront, but it's harder to identify which houses are blighted. It can reduce crime, and it's something that we should give a serious consideration to, and we will. They were actually talking about possibly legislating that in some manner.
Yeah, and the crazy thing, you just brought it to my mind, that's like one of the last things I did when we were in Susquehanna Township. We passed an ordinance. It was called, it was kind of carved out a little bit from, the whole broken windows theory, but it was more like a door and window policy, basically requiring, all properties to have functioning door and windows, and basically given requirements for the type of windows, because that theory was kind of put into place in like different areas of Philadelphia. So if you have a certain amount of blighted properties on your block, home occupied properties on your block, you are required to then put those plexiglass type of windows, because everyone knows as soon as those boards are kind of put up, they take away from the value, your property value for any properties that are surrounding those areas. And we kind of made that as a provision. And Susquehanna Township doesn't have as much as a blight problem, but what we were doing it as a proactive measure, because what we were seeing was foreclosed properties, and if vandalism or things were happening to those houses, banks and mortgage companies would come in and immediately board it up. But with that ordinance on the books, it kind of say, well, wait, this is the way you have to properly do that. So I actually can get a copy of that ordinance and how I drafted it up and presented to Neil by our next meeting.
How many blighted properties and condemned properties do we have? Do you know?
Well, the definition of blight, we have a condemned property list, and
443 condemned properties, and that is not including just vacant properties.
Condemned. And we don't own them. They're privately owned.
Can I ask a piggyback question on that? So I know there's different levels. Condemn is one general definition. But as far as analyzing our housing stock, are we looking at it from perspective of condemned beyond repaired, or you see what I'm saying?
Yes, so we have the different, we do have the different levels of condemnation.
Okay.
And so both the codes and the fire department go out and take a look at those that are what they determine to be condemned at unlivable. Okay, so interestingly enough, though, when you work with developers, okay, they can see a condemned property and they might have a vision. They might say, you know what, we can save these and turn them around. So it really does, and it's been very interesting. We've had a lot of interest from investor, developer type of people, small guys that are coming in. Not all, I think, are responsible, or have the same vision, or want to go along with rehabilitating a neighborhood just to save that neighborhood. But having said that, every developer has a different vision. So some will say, you know what, I can't save it. The next guy comes along and says, yeah, I can save that. Depends on their model and depends what they're used to and their experience. We're looking for the experienced developers to come in and say, yeah, I can save it. And where have you done it before? Show me your product. Don't just tell me you're going to do it and then it sits again. So, but again, we don't own most of those. We don't own the homes. There are some blighted buildings that are owned by the Redevelopment Authority, but like the J. Shin building. Now the redevelopment authority has funds from Impact Harrisburg, and that's one of the first buildings that's going to come down.
Okay, any other questions?
Can I just,
Mr.
one
Majors,
question?
sure.
So in terms of, for the Act 152, you mentioned that the county passed the ordinance. Do we need to get state approval for them to, at the county level, determine, I guess it's based on deed transfers, correct? Or-
Correct. So
Now-
they'll just take all the deed transfers that are from the whole county.
Right.
And assess that extra 15 and put it on top.
Now, but we need the state to come in and decide whether or not the county can make a determination and say, based on deed transfers in the city of Harrisburg,
Well-
that money that goes back can be allocated right back to the city of
They-
Harrisburg.
They,
We can't-
right now, they're expecting it to, they just passed it, so they're
Right.
expecting to generate about $230,000 is their guess for this year. And all that money is going to the county land bank, and we were encouraged to come and make a pitch for it, but they basically are determining the priorities. None of that money is controlled by the city. So the projects that were mentioned today were one in Susquehanna Township and one in Steelton. So I think Jackie's concern is that they pass this legislation. It gives the counties a good resource that wasn't there before, but there's nothing which says that that money has to be used within the city of Harrisburg or where blight is at its worst.
Right.
So,
And-
yes.
And I understand that.
Okay.
What I'm asking is it possible for us to work with the county to help them prioritize the money that's coming in? I mean, I
Oh,
understand
yeah.
if the first 200,000 has to go to the land bank and they decide to do that, is that something, I mean, we can work on building that relationship with the county and saying, because if there's a lot of blighted properties in Harrisburg, we have LERTA coming, I'm just gonna speculate and anticipate that we're gonna have a lot of deed transfers in the city of Harrisburg for a while. Can we work with the county? I mean, I don't think we have to go back to the state legislature and say, please help us out with working with our county when we are the next level of government underneath them, so we should be able to work with them
And I think
in a
you're right,
partnership.
and we certainly will do that, and we talked a little bit with George about that. I think what I'm saying to the legislature is, many communities, it isn't just Harrisburg, it isn't just Dauphin County, but they have to do something separate as opposed to saying, you know what, a percentage needs to go to the areas that have the most demolition needs. So you're right, we'll make a pitch, but they said, you're going to apply like everybody else. And so if we come and we say, hey, we have this many, maybe they'll fund us, maybe they won't. That's what I'm saying.
You could change the law to say that the percentage of transfer tax that comes from the city goes to the city land bank, and the rest from the county goes to the county land bank. But we're absolutely going to work with them, and we were invited to work with them today, and that's a very positive thing. We were, so that all came out of the hearing today. It's good.
And just one last comment, because you just opened up like the land bank thing, I think it's important for the public to be aware, because I did ask the county in regards to like their land bank projects, because I was in Susquehanna Township when they worked on a big land bank project on Tuscarora Street where they had 4 blighted properties that were
That was profiled today.
Yeah, fire-ridden and knocked down, and they replaced it with 5 beautiful townhomes. And that was the second project. The first project, I forgot the exact street it was on, but they basically remodeled another home, and I guess they're looking to do another one in Susquehanna and another one in Stilton. All those projects are great projects, but, my issue with it as far as seeing where blight is the most affected is obviously here inside the city of Harrisburg. They said one of the reasons why that I heard, I don't know if this is true, that they're not doing projects within the city of Harrisburg is because we have our own land bank.
That's right.
But the issue is with our land bank, we don't have any money.
We do.
We do? How much money do we have in our land bank?
250,000.
250,000. So in regards, so I guess maybe this can be like another, meeting where we can talk about, possibly, where that puts us with that 250,000, where can we find other ways to generate more money within our land, like residual funding? Because, opportunities, just like with the transfer fees, the counties they're going to be looking for their priorities. They know these land bank projects are good projects. So if they can they're looking for recurring funds to constantly dip into their land bank so they can do more projects. I think we're just at a disability right now because those projects are not happening inside the city. So either we have to talk about, how we can get those recurring funds for our land bank, or how we can kind of carve out a certain amount that, the county's willing to give to contribute to our land bank. But, they're on like their 5th or 6th land bank project, and it's so hard to see because they're happening in areas where blight's not really an issue, and we have all this blight around us, which, wish it should be happening here.
Well, I think it's also the way you use the tool. So we have a redevelopment authority, we have a land bank that really cross over. The Harrisburg redevelopment authority owns now most of the properties. So what we're trying to identify is, should those come to the land bank for redevelopment, or should the land bank go out and get their own? Okay, there are so many that, already is owned by either the land bank, by the redevelopment authority, so why would the land bank own it? The key, though, is, and we've already been discussing how to use it, is to go in and get properties at judicial sale, so that's helpful. To be a conservatorship, that's a tool. When you say we don't have those projects, the redevelopment authority already worked with the housing authority and Tri-County Housing to do Mulder Square. That was that's our big project. And what the county did was work with the Habitat for Humanity. So it's kind of the same thing. It's just, it's a different area and a different strategy. But the idea is to work with your land bank or the redevelopment authority and work with private development or a nonprofit, which is what we're doing, and really, to get a focus and targeted area. So we're doing it, but we're sort of, we're trying to run, we're trying to walk and then run, and to do some further things. I think conservatorship, and I know Neil's a big fan of that, is a key. And what that is that the land bank then can go to the court. And let's say on 4th Street, when Councilman Williams and I walked on 4th Street, there's a whole row of properties that are burnt out. We're trying to address those. Okay, we've had developers look at them. They're privately owned. We don't own them. And so what we can do is go to the court, say, hey, can either the eligible entities are redevelopment authority or land bank, can we just go in, and we're gonna do something with them? Well, we have to have money, because the court's gonna say, okay, you have 6 months, 1 year to do something with these properties. You go in, you just do it. The court is now allowing you to do it and be a conservator of that property. When it's all done, the owner can either pay you back, or just say, fine, and the court will, then say, okay, now it goes to the land bank. So but you have to have the money. You have to make sure that you have the money to do the project, partner with somebody, and they go in and help you do it. So, there are different strategies that can be done. But I know we've been concentrating on 4th Street for a while, so. Like you said, we just have so many areas. We just have so many areas that need that attention.
Any other questions, Council? Okay. Moving on, and still under new business, Ms. Daniels. Mr. Majors.
Yes, with the summer coming up, I would just encourage folks that are either running summer programs or know of any summer programs to please work with the city, and we can place them on the community calendar that's on the city's website. We want to encourage as much engagement with the youth, not just with the city programs, with any other programs that are being run within the city of Harrisburg for our youth for this summer. So I'll get the link so that, and if you can work with either our communications folks or someone, just to make sure that the public has as much access to all the summer programs. There's a lot of, what I find, when any of us that are on social media, you find there's a lot of summer programs going on, but there's no one repository where all those are, so that kids that may be interested in, the arts may not want to go to the city of Harrisburg's Park and Rec program, but there might be a summer program that's running for the arts, sports, et cetera. So the city does have a website that has a community calendar. Just ask the public to utilize that as one tool as to get the word out about programs for our youth this summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Majors. Mr. Baltimore.
You covered a lot of the items that I had concerns about regarding last week's workshop as it relates to the comprehensive plan. I learned a great deal after the meeting with Neil, Doug, and Deborah, and myself. I reiterate the fact that things got way out of hand, but I won't go down that road. However, I would recommend to my council members that we do, at least this is me speaking from my own opinion, that we seek an outside legal opinion on the interpretation of the contract. It's not that I don't trust what Neil and the department says. I just would like a rubber stamp on it. Also, an interpretation, a legal interpretation on the specific roles of the Planning Commission, council, the administration, and contract. I think we're interpreting it differently, at least I am, and I think it's subject to interpretation. So I'm be encouraging the outside legal opinion on that. I think it's money well spent, considering what we've already spent and the time we've already invested. It may rubber stamp what the administration already has, but I don't think this is a process or a project that we can not cross our Ts and dot our Is. So I'm encouraging support on that. And I also would like to have another workshop where we are independent and closed off from the administration. It'll be informational purposes only, where we can get some feedback on some of those things that we try to discuss at the workshop last meeting. And I accept the fact that this is a living document, that we will have opportunities to change and increase citizen participation in the review process of the Planning Commission and our own review process. I just would like a little bit more assurance that we're doing this thing right. This is a 20-year plan. This is going to govern a vision for our lives and our children's lives going forward. And I think it's important that we have as many voices heard. This is important. I think it's, for me, it's going to be one of the most important things that we're a part of. And I would like to be absolutely sure on what my role is as a council member, what the Planning Commission's role is as a Planning Commission member, what the administration's role is, and in the entire process. So I know there's state law that governs this, but it's subject to interpretation, as are many things. So we may not like it, but I think it's our responsibility. At least I feel it's my responsibility to bring it up. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baltimore. The only new business I have, Mayor, is that I want to sit down with you. I am going to request that we have laptops. I'm sick of this paper. I don't even know how to get rid of all the tons of paper that I have. This is absolutely ridiculous. So we need to find some money so that we can have modern technology up here. Also, I just want to say congratulations to Mr. Allett, Ms. Daniels, and also to you, Mayor, for our re-election bid. Congratulations, council members, Mayor. And that's all
And
the
to
new.
you, Cheryl.
Thank you. That's all the new business I have. Anyone else? Okay. So, Mayor, please find me some money.
You have money. We'll make sure you get it. You can buy laptops
Yes,
right away.
Because
Yes.
then I got to call Public Works.
You have a budget.
I have boxes of
Okay.
paper. This is just so much paperwork. Look, we're
I am strongly supportive of you all having laptops.
yeah, look at this.
Did you adjourn? There you go.
Yes. Motion to adjourn, please. May I have a second? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.